As a small business owner, do you feel like it is a constant struggle to get to the next level? You're constantly being pulled back into the weeds and forced to do other people's work, and you're left scratching your head wondering, what is going on? I have no idea where to start or how to fix this. We're going to talk a bit about that today. Welcome to the Key Hire Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Harlock, creator of Key Hire Solutions, where we help small business grow with our talent. Before we dive in today, I have a favor to ask. If you get any valuable insight from this show, do me a huge favor and hit the follow or subscribe button. And if today's topic hits home, help us spread the word and share this episode with another business owner or two who are wrestling with these challenges. We do the show to help small business owners, and we would appreciate it if you could help spread the word and broaden our reach. Also, be sure to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search up Corey Harlock. I think I'm the only one there, and you'll get some more hiring tips between episodes. And I always want to hear from you. I want to hear what business challenges you're facing, what topics we should tackle on the show. So send me a message and let me know what topics will help you the most. We are starting a special series on the key owner stages. The key owner stages are the cornerstone of Key Hire Solutions. And these are kind of the mental mindset of business owners as they go from starting their small business to kind of growing it into a medium-sized business and the challenges they face. Those four key owner stages, or the five key owner stages, are: we start with overwhelm. We move into unsure. We then move into curious, the curious business owner. We move into growing, and then we move into the strategic business owner. So we're going to do a four-part series covering off the first four of the key owner stages. And today we're going to hit on the overwhelm stage, which is my particular favorite. It's really where we do a lot of our work with Key Hire Solutions. We always like to start with a description. So in the Key Hire vernacular, the overwhelmed business owner, if you can imagine a business owner standing looking at a car and all four wheels have fallen off that car and they're scratching their head wondering, how do I even start to fix this? That is what the overwhelmed business owner feels like in a nutshell. They're not moving down the road. They've kind of screeched to a halt for one reason or another, and they can't figure out what is the first step to getting the wheels back on this vehicle and start moving down the road. Some things you might be feeling as that small business owner. You might have some security or insecurity or doubt as to what's happening. What do I do next? How do I fix this? You're probably immersed deeply in your business. And what I mean by that is you're really tactically involved. You're taking on the day-to-day challenges. You're probably doing some of the work of your senior leaders, the people that should be. So an example of that might be if you have someone who's supposed to be heading up sales, well, you're probably in there driving the bus saying, hey, how are we measuring this? How is so-and-so doing in sales? What do we have in the pipeline? Going on sales calls or having angry customers maybe calling you because we dropped the ball in sales. Could be any one of those things. Same thing could apply on operations or services, whatever it might be. You feel like no matter how hard you're working, it's two steps forward, 1, 2, 3 steps back. You make a little progress and you get pulled back into the weeds. You're continuously patching holes, fighting fires. You're a firefighter out there. And this is a hard place to be as a business owner. You want to push the business forward, but you have mostly your people are holding you back. And when you start your small business, if you've listened to the podcast before, you've heard me say this a lot. When the right way to start a small business is you hire your relatives, you hire your neighbor, you hire your neighbor's relatives and friends, and everyone pitches in and they start to build something. And these people give you everything they have. They show up every day, they work long hours with you, they commit to this project. And if they are successful, what happens is the requirements and demands of the business are growing, and their abilities come along, and then eventually they peter out. The Peter principle. Everyone rises to the level of their own incompetence. So in short, the requirements, demands of your business, the technical skill, the things that are needed to put in policy and procedure to enable you to scale, that outgrows the ability, the capacity, the experience of the people that have helped you build your business. And it's a really tough spot for a business owner to be. You have to look at these people and say, man, I really appreciate everything you've done to get me here, but I don't know, or I do know that you're not the person to get me there. And that's a whole other conversation about how we handle that transition with these people, because we want to do it respectfully and make sure they're taken care of. And you have some options there. But as a business owner, when we hit this overwhelmed business owner is right at that crux. Business is climbing and your leadership is maxed out. They don't have anything left to give you. And because we're loyal to these people and we've worked with them and we're in the business, it's really hard to pull back from that and look objectively at them and say, who can do this and who can't? Some things you might notice in your business are leaders that were once, or the people that were there with you, that were fighting with you shoulder to shoulder, that were once your right hand, delivering things on time, generating ideas, motivating their people. They are now struggling to meet deadlines, if not meeting deadlines at all. They may be a little agitated. They may start to micromanage their people, and you might be hearing from their people, like, what's going on with so-and-so. There's definitely going to be a shift in the way they deal with you and the way they deal with their people. They might start to point fingers. Well, if that department could do their stuff, I could do mine. But because they're not performing, I can't perform. They might create an adversarial environment with other departments because it becomes a bit of the blame game. And I want to preface this by saying, I would never try to convince you that these are evil, mean people that are trying to sabotage you. These are people that are used to being successful with you. And they too are overwhelmed by the workload and the requirements and the demands. They don't know they don't have the tools. Some of them might understand that, but the majority of them don't get it. They can't figure out what's going on. I used to be a superstar and now I'm struggling, and I don't know why either. And this is part of that overwhelmed business where it's not just the owner that is overwhelmed. Oftentimes it's their leaders or their key people that are feeling it too. And this creates a hard environment. Go back to that car with the wheels that have fallen off, thinking, man, I don't even know where to start. How do I fix this? What do I do? I've talked to them. I've motivated them. I've asked them what's wrong. I've given them tools. And it becomes very challenging. The other side of this is you could be a second generation owner or third generation owner who has taken over a moderately successful, sleepy little business that your parents or uncle or someone in your family has run, and they've been comfortably doing, for argument's sake, $10 million a year. And everyone in the business has been doing $10 million a year. Then you've come in with new ideas, new products, new markets, new sales techniques, whatever that might be, and you've stressed that business. And you might be facing some legacy employees who are saying things like, That's not the way we do things here. We've never done it that way. Why would we do that? These could be people that were hired by your relatives, your mother, your father, your uncle, your aunt 20 years ago. And they're in a key leadership role. And now you're fighting them because they are resistant to change because they know $10 million is their comfort zone. And you come along and say, we're going to grow this thing to 50. And they're afraid. That scares them because they're thinking, I don't know how to do that. So rather than put my energy into getting to $50 million a year, I'm going to put all my energy into pulling you back to make you understand we do 10 a year. I've come across a lot of second, third gen owners who face that exact problem. And oftentimes they don't realize that it is the loyal employees that, not maliciously, just instinctively are holding you back. And so we need to kind of remove ourselves from that. Some of the other challenges you may have faced in the past are you may feel like your business is totally unique. We can't bring people in from the outside because they don't understand our business, our product, our service, our niche. Or you may have tried to bring someone in. You may have a neighbor who said, hey, my buddy just got laid off and I think he'd be perfect for your business. You speak to them, you like them, you bring them in. They're a big ticket hire. You pay them more than you've ever paid anyone in the past. And 6 months later, they haven't been successful. So now, not only do you feel like people don't understand your business, outsiders, but hey, I've hired someone with a lot of experience before and it didn't work. These are common things we hear. So now we're trapped in this business, not trapped, wrong word. We're in this business feeling overwhelmed. It's growing and we feel like we've exhausted all of our outside options. We've tried them. They turned around. Maybe they bit us in the ass. They didn't work out the way we hoped. So now it's us against the world. It's DIY. It's do it yourself. And I have my team that's been with me and they can't be the problem because they've helped me get here. Sound familiar? Does any of that resonate with you? Well, I'm going to get to some of the solutions, how we can get out of this. But before I do that, I want to go through some of the mistakes you might make right now, because this is critical. The first thing I want to tell you is it's not going to get better tomorrow. A lot of business owners feel like if I can just make that one great hire, my life will get easier. And the reality is, to use a baseball analogy, we're not trying to hit a home run here. We're trying to hit 4 singles. What I mean by that is we got to do a couple things correctly in succession to get to that relief. And each move we make will let a little pressure out of the tire. It'll give you a little relief to say, okay, this part of the business I feel is taken care of. I can focus my time over on now one less area of the business I have to worry about. Then the next thing we do correctly will take a little pressure off. And now it's like, oh, okay, now I have a good chunk of my business that I feel I have competent, good people in. It's taken care of. And I have a little less to worry about, a smaller part of the business to focus on. And we keep making these right moves in succession. And 9, 12, 15, 18 months down the road, you are in a strategic position within your business. You've moved through all the key owner stages. You've gone from overwhelmed to unsure to curious, and now you're in growing. And now you're focused on that strategic vision, the forward thinking. You're sitting in your president's chair. You're not grinding in the day-to-day. We have competent people doing what they need to do. So the first mistake I see people make is, if I just can do this one thing, it'll get better. It'll be better. And the mindset here is we need to start doing things correctly over time to slowly transition you. We don't want to transition you overnight. It won't work. It doesn't work. Another mistake I see business owners make is not being squared away on their what it takes to bring in people. A lot of small business owners will be on the low end of the scale. And we've kind of already outlined why, because we paid big money for these heavy hitters and it's never worked out. So I don't feel like that's the right thing to do. So we end up on the lower end of the spectrum in terms of salary, but also in terms of total package, right? Our benefits are often not as competitive as some of the bigger companies. And maybe we have, I've worked with some small business owners where I don't care who you are, when you start at 1 week paid vacation. And if you're bringing in an experienced person and they have 10 years of experience, they probably have 3 weeks vacation, and no one's going to take a pay cut and lose all their vacation and pay more for their benefits to come and join your team. So these are things we need to think of. So we need to be on the right side of the pay scale. And what else happens with this pay scale is, because we're on the low end, we start doing what I call hiring for potential instead of experience. Now, if I break those two out just really quickly, when you hire for experience, it costs you more money up front, but your return on investment is almost immediate. And the relief is more immediate because these people come in with this experience, if we hire the right person, and are able to take things off your plate before lunchtime on their first day. But that costs more money. When we hire for potential, we pay low because they don't have as much experience. And we hope that we can mentor them and train them and get them the information they need to be successful down the road. And that could be 6, 12, 18, 24 months, depending on what that role is, before they're totally immersed in that role and you're getting the return on investment that you're looking for. Neither of those are a bad strategy. If you have the capital to invest in talent that can give you an immediate ROI, awesome. If you don't, and you need to hire on potential, but you have the training and everything in place to make sure that person is mentored and taken care of, great strategy too. The mistake is when we pay and hire for potential, but have the expectation of experience. This is where we get in trouble. And what I've seen happen in the past is a business owner will hire someone on potential, and they will come in and perform amazingly. And they will get that hired on potential, but got someone who can hit the ground running and have an immediate impact, or almost immediate impact. And it happens once out of hundreds of hires. And that becomes their strategy because it worked once. And it's a very low percentage play. If you use a sports analogy, it's like in football, throwing into triple coverage. The odds of your guy coming up with that ball is 25%. So we got lucky one time. And so we think, well, I don't have to pay tons. I can get these inexperienced people who can just come in and they get it and they can perform well. And we get stuck in that loop. And then we end up hiring, disappointed, turning over, and we're never moving our talent our talent foundation forward. We're not addressing experience or talent gaps. We're just kind of hoping and praying, and we're using a low percentage strategy to fill key roles in our business. So that would be mistake number 2, would be hiring for on potential, but expecting to get the experience and not having a true understanding of who we're hiring, why we're hiring them, and what that ROI timeline might look like. The third mistake I would say a business owner would make in this situation is, I'll just do it myself. We'll push it forward. We'll all work longer. We'll all work harder. When time is your only input, when the only way you can push the business forward is to say, well, I'll just work harder and longer, That's not a sustainable strategy for growth. It's real effective to burn people out and create turnover. But this kind of us against the world mentality can drive people to do that. And if that's kind of where you are right now, just pause and think of that, because that means you've pushed everything out aside and all you're focused on is getting this thing done. And then a final one might be just hiring out of desperation, like the warm body syndrome thing. Our philosophy is, I would rather have you struggle. And I just had a client in this situation. She's like, how quickly can we get this done? And I said, I don't know, but I would rather you struggle for the next 4 to 6 weeks and get the absolute right person in your business to help you and take some pressure off you than hire someone fast to be back here in 12 weeks doing this all again because we haven't helped you at all. So it's shortening that. Don't shorten that time horizon and say, I just need to do this fast. Let's get this done. I just need help. I get it. I know you need help, but you've been doing this for a minute already. Let's just put everything in place so we can push you out and get you to do this correctly. So understand that getting the right solution in place will take time. It's going to take some time. But the idea here is short-term pain, long-term gain. I don't want you on a hamster wheel where you're just hiring, nope, hire, not working, fire, hire, not working, fire. And you just are in this perpetual state of overwhelm. And why can't we get this done? Why can't we push forward? Why can't we hire good people? So you're probably wondering to yourself now, well, okay, that's all great, Corey. You've got me thinking like this is never going to end. How do I fix it? And I'm going to walk you through kind of a simple process. The first thing you really need to do is assess your leadership team and to really understand who on your team has the experience plus capacity plus culture fit to drive your business forward. And there's 3 things there. And let's go in reverse order. Culture. You might have someone who understands your business and has capacity, but is a real miserable person to work with. As Simon Sinek calls them, he calls them high-performing assholes. And if you want to know who that person in your business is, just ask everyone and they'll all go, yeah, that person. They'll all point to the same person. Culture is more important than experience. In a lot of cases. So if you have someone who is just stirring the pot, is very confrontational, is not fitting in with the culture you're hoping to build in your company, you need to have a careful look at that. Next thing is we need to look at experience. Do they have any background in what we're doing? Are they making it up? Are they going home and using AI or researching to try to find efficiencies or procedures that can help your business? Are they stuck in this is the way we always do this? Have they worked in a similar business or even a different business that's larger in a supervisory role in the past? Do they understand how to lead people? Do they understand what a corporate structure looks like? Do they have any training in the background where that they can bring into your business? If they don't, and they lack the experience, that could be a problem. If they do, then you need to assess, does that translate to what we're doing? Are they generating ideas? Are they working with the other departments? Are they trying to collaborate to push the business forward? Or are they making excuses saying, that's not going to work here. Oh, that sounds hard. Why don't we just do it the way we've always done it? We'll just work harder. It's not our fault. It's the other department's fault. Are they making excuses, pointing the finger and kind of pitting departments against each other? That would be a problem. That would indicate low experience. And then the final piece of this is capacity. Do they have the background and the experience to build process and procedure to scale your business? And in a way I always encourage people to think about this is, we don't need someone to run our $10 million a year business. Can you run our $10 million a year business? Yes, great. But we're not looking for someone to run our $10 million a year business. We want someone who can run our $50 million a year business, currently doing 10. And if you phrase it like that and you say, they're struggling at 10, I don't know if they can get us to 50. That's a capacity issue. They don't understand. They don't have the tools in their toolbox to build the process and procedure you need. No fault of theirs. It's because they don't know what they don't know, right? If you open up their toolbox, they have a hammer. And when you have a hammer, when you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And what we want is someone, when we open up that toolbox, they have a robust set of tools. They can go, oh, this situation calls for this process or procedure, or this situation calls for this kind of management or training or whatever it might be, lunch and learn. I don't know. But that's what we're talking about when we talk about capacity. So you need to look at each of your leaders and say, who can get me where I want to go and who is kind of struggling at our current levels. Once we do that and we identify those gaps, we want to then create a super informal structure for our business. Because at this stage, a lot of people, they may have official titles, but we're all kind of doing everything and pitching in. Oh, I got time. I'll help over here. I'll spend time on the floor. I'm going to go on a sales call. So we need to formalize our structure. And at this stage, your business should, you only need three divisions. You need sales, you need operations, you need administration. And we need to put a head in each one of those. And your sales leader has to be skilled and be able to drive sales. Your operations leader needs to be an expert on and able to deliver on at a high level whatever product or service you have. And your administration, that's everything else. That's your accounting, that's your marketing, could be your marketing, any of the technical other stuff that falls in there, someone who's taking care of your books. And they need to be in those areas of the business, and that's where they need to specialize. You're going to have some gaps. You might not have anyone who's suitable for any of those roles. You might have one or two that fit, and you might need to hire one or two. So here's the next piece of advice I'm going to give you. When it comes to bringing on employees, small business owners, the three biggest mistakes a small business owner will make is, number one, they will not clearly define the role they're hiring for. And this could be the reason your neighbor's friend who got laid off, who you interviewed and hired and they didn't work out, because you didn't clearly define that role. And so everything they said sounded great. You didn't have a scorecard to say, yeah, that's amazing experience, but that's not what I need. So we want to clearly define the role that we're looking for. Number two, we hire for today's business levels and not future business levels. So I'm going back to my point where we don't want to hire someone to run our $10 million a year business. We want to hire someone who can run our $50 million a year business, currently doing 10. And I'll share a great story with you. I had a client way back when, and their sales leader, they were like an $8 million a year business. And their sales leader quit unexpectedly. And they were a little rattled because they were really happy with them. And of course, they wanted to grow. They had growth goals. And so through, over the next weeks, how is that sales manager situation shaping up? And they're like, oh, we got actually the sales manager from our biggest competitor. And he's doing a great job. I said, great. Fast forward 3 months later. Hey, how's that new sales manager doing? Awesome. Doing great. Where are sales? $8 million. Because the company that sales manager came from also did $8 million a year. And that's that Peter principle thing. Everyone will rise to the level of their own incompetence. If the bulk of my experience or my biggest experience is running a company that does $8 million a year, the odds of me taking your company to 50 are limited because I don't have the capacity. This is a capacity issue we're talking about. I've never seen it happen. I haven't even worked under people that have made that happen. So I don't have any idea how to do it and what that takes. And going from 10 to 50, it's not just one change. It's not just two changes. It'll actually be several iterations of the way you do things to get to 50. Because as you grow, you're going to need to break old processes and procedures, rebuild them. You might need to expand. You might need to acquire. And that's going to really reshape how your business operates. And you need someone who has seen all or most of that to help you do that. So we hire for today's business levels, not future business levels. And then the third biggest mistake is we don't have a formalized hiring process. And this is the most important thing. When you're hiring someone, especially someone you're going to invest a lot of money in, because as a small business owner, if we're hiring a 6-figure leader, bringing them in, that's a lot of money. I get it. I understand it. So we want to maximize our probabilities of getting this right. And so what we want to do is bring these people in through a hiring process that is consistent. So when I talk about consistent, I talk about we want to always have the same people asking the same questions in the same order. So if we're going to include people in the sales process or in the hiring process, it's got to be the same people for that role every time. So when we compare notes, we're talking apples to apples. If I include person X for the first candidate and I remove that person and include person Y for the second candidate, when they debrief, there's no baseline. There's no commonalities in what they talked about, what they experienced, because they asked their X asked their question, Y asked their questions, and they don't correlate. So we want to be consistent in terms of how we're doing that. We always want to make sure we're fast and efficient. We want to be both exhaustive and efficient because people are off the market fast. So we want to make sure we're just, moving along as quickly as we can. And we want to make sure we have a consistent, what we call scorecard, right? So by outlining the requirements of the job, everyone should have that scorecard and be saying, yeah, they have the experience we need, or, we had outlined 8 key pieces of experience they need. They only have 4 of them. And is 50% high enough a threshold for you to gamble on hiring that person? Our personal threshold is 80% at key hire. Well, we will never entertain anyone. A lot of great people. We talk to a lot of amazing people, but if they're not an 80% match to the role that we've helped build and identify within a company, we're not going to waste your time with it. And I recommend you don't waste any time on it. You let them know, hey, you have great experience. Unfortunately, it's just not ideal for what we're trying to do here. And it wouldn't be fair to you or us to have you join our team, because I don't see enough of it aligning, and I need you to have immediate impact. And it's going to take you a while to get ramped up in our business, and we just don't have that luxury or that time right now. So those would be the biggest mistakes that I see business owners making. Hiring for potential and expecting to get immediate ROI. Not having a proper hiring process, not clearly identifying the role that they need to hire for, making a knee-jerk reaction and hiring someone fast, hoping that they're going to fill that need and relieve the pressure for them, and expecting instant relief, right? We want to give you fast relief. That's important. I'm not saying we want to prolong the agony. That's not the goal here. But fast relief doesn't mean tomorrow. It could mean hiring a home run leader in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So in 8 to 10 weeks, you're breathing a little deeper. You have less responsibility. You have more manageable responsibilities, or now we move on to the next challenge, that next constraint for you. So I hope that makes sense. That's what it feels like to be overwhelmed, and maybe what you're going through, and some steps you might be able to take to kind of move from that overwhelmed to the unsure. once we get that key hire, that first hire in who can take some pressure out of our tire, what generally happens is a business owner will now start saying, this is what a good leader looks like. And we, in Key Hire, we call that, we redefine what good looks like. And now you start thinking, wow, this leader came in and brought all this great stuff to the table. I wonder what would happen if we looked at the other departments and we were able to bring in professional leadership. And that's where we start getting a little unsure about, so how do I do that? What is the impact on my business if I make another change? What are my options to make that change? And that's what we want to do, is move you through these stages. So you're going to go from the overwhelm, then we're going to move you into the unsure. So now you're out of that, you have a little more room to breathe, and now you're wondering, okay, what else can I do? And that's going to be the next episode in this series of the Key Owner Stages. We're going to talk about unsure next week. So I'd like to thank you for tuning into the Key Hire Small Business Podcast. If you got value out of today's episode and want to keep up to date on new content, please subscribe, follow, share this episode with a fellow business owner you think might appreciate the information and add some value to them. We're doing this for you, and any opportunity or any help you can give us to help spread the word would be much appreciated. Thanks for listening. I'm Corey Harlock, and until next time, stop grinding, start growing.